inside Attica Prison. Attica Prison, a name that still echoes like thunder through America's history books. To some, it's just another prison. To others, it's a symbol of rebellion, brutality, and a system pushed past its breaking point. Built in 1931, Attica Correctional Facility wasn't designed just to hold men. It was designed to break them. But in September 1971, those walls shook with the sound of uprising, a moment so violent, so shocking, it changed prisons and America forever. This is not just a story about a prison. It's about a battle between survival and oppression, a struggle for dignity in a place where hope rarely survives. And once you step inside Attica, there's no turning back. Welcome to Attica, the fortress in the north. Attica Correctional Facility was carved out of the quiet countryside of Wyoming County, New York. Its massive walls, 4 stories high, wrapped around a prison designed to hold over 2,000 men. But Attica wasn't just a prison, it was a world of its own. Inside those walls were cell blocks lined like stacked coffins, each cell barely large enough to stretch your arms. 1,000 steel doors, each one a cage for men society had discarded. Guards called it discipline. Inmates called it hell. But Attica was more than punishment. It was a pressure cooker. And sooner or later, the lid would blow. Life inside before the storm. Life inside Attica in the 1960s and early 70s was defined by 2 things: control and deprivation. Prisoners, mostly young Black and Latino men from New York City, were ruled by an overwhelmingly white rural guard force. Every meal, every shower, every visit, controlled to the minute. Medical care was almost non-existent. Letters home were censored, visits were restricted, and education, minimal at best. For many, Attica wasn't rehabilitation, it was slow decay. But beneath the silence, anger simmered. The men of Attica weren't just criminals. Many were Vietnam veterans, activists, fathers, brothers. They demanded respect, and in 1971, they would demand it with fire and blood. Pressure builds. By 1971, Attica housed more than 2,200 men, 36% over its intended capacity. But the issue wasn't just overcrowding, it was inequality. 70% of the prisoners were Black or Latino, yet almost every guard was white, drawn from small farming towns in upstate New York. Culture clashed inside those walls. Prisoners came from New York City neighborhoods scarred by poverty and racial tension. Guards came from conservative working-class communities, often carrying prejudice with them. The result? A prison boiling with mistrust. The food was barely edible. Medical treatment was a joke. Prisoners were allowed just 1 shower per week and only 1 roll of toilet paper for an entire month. They had no say, no voice, no dignity. But change was brewing, not just inside Attica, but across America. The spirit of rebellion. The late 60s and early 70s were an age of rebellion. The civil rights movement had exposed America's deep racial wounds. The Black Power movement demanded equality. The anti-war movement challenged authority. And those voices carried into prison yards. Prisoners began organizing. They read radical literature, debated politics, and demanded reform. At Attica, men formed study groups, learning about their rights, the law, and movements for justice outside. By 1971, Attica inmates had written a list of demands. They asked for more than bread. They asked for recognition of their humanity. But prison officials ignored them. The governor of New York, Nelson Rockefeller, refused to even meet them. The message was clear: the state wasn't listening. So the prisoners decided they would make themselves heard. The spark. The spark came on September 8, 1971. A fight broke out between inmates and guards. The incident was small, but the tension behind it was massive. When word spread that a fellow inmate had been beaten, the Our prison exploded in anger. Rumors flew. He had been killed. Whether true or not didn't matter. What mattered was the rage. On September 9th, 1971, Attica reached its breaking point. The uprising began. The world was about to witness the bloodiest prison rebellion in U.S. history.